Hey, what's going on, WBSE? It's Chad and Bill.
Hey, WBSE.
We are going to do a kind of tasting of budget pours and some palate cleansers and different glassware. So before we go, raise up my glass of water and say cheers, Bill.
Cheers, Chad.
All right, we're just going to jump right into this.
Wait, what proof is that?
I think it's 0.0 ABV. So anyway, we're going to jump off with Johnny Drum. Johnny Drum isn't a widely talked about bottle. It's owned by Willett Distillery, but I believe it's sourced. I don't think they're making their own juice for it right now. I could be mistaken, but that's kind of what I'm
I was
getting at.
thinking that was coming from MGP, but I'm not sure.
I'm thinking Heaven Hill, possibly.
It could be.
It's been a while since I've had this pour.
So while Chad's opening that up, we're looking at budget pours. So budget pours are under $50, or we're going under $40?
All of these are under $40.
Okay, all under $40. So especially if you're new to the group, new to whiskey, you don't have a lot of money to spend on your whiskey, the budget pours are perfect. And the ones we have here tonight are all great whiskeys for the price. As Chad pointed out, we have some palate cleansers here for between pours.
So the most expensive bottle here tonight, I believe, is the E.H. Taylor Small Batch. Here in Pennsylvania, it runs, I think it's around $38 after tax. Of course, down in the state below us, it's around $45 to $50 before tax.
Depends on where you are.
Taylor has a wide fluctuation of price. So we got something that's kind of right up there on the $40 mark down to something that's about $21. So let's do a quick little sip of old Johnny Drum.
I've had this one before and I like it.
It's kind of one of those bottles that, you know, I've owned a couple of them before, but it's kind of always found its way in the back of the cupboard.
All right, cheers.
Real basic kind of bourbon, 101 proof. The wax top will fool you. A lot of people think it's a cork. It's a screw off. They got me tonight. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's because he's a screw off.
So you get your, probably in the majority of these, you're going to have very similar taste profiles of the vanillas, the caramels, you know, so forth and whatnot.
The Johnny Drum, I think, is pretty oaky for the price.
Kind of.
That's the first thing that hits my palate is the oak. A little butterscotch, vanilla.
Definitely some legs on this sucker.
It has a nice mouthfeel.
It's a little astringent to me, personally.
It does have a bit of a bitter finish.
So I'm done with that one. I'm ready to move on to the next one. So
Right.
I'm going to start off with water
Okay.
as the palate cleanser. I know you and
Yeah.
I differ. You like olives, I like pickles. You swear by pretzels. We're hearing really cool things about this Krabby's ginger beer. So do it with water, and we'll go to Eagle Rare next.
Yeah, as Chad's pouring that, the Krabby's ginger beer is supposed to be a great palate cleanser
We'll find
between pours when you're doing tastings. But we have some dill pickles here, some pretzels, and some olives.
All right, so
I typically use pretzels, but
here we are with the Eagle Rare. It's actually a store pick from Maryland. Is it Nick's Seafood House or?
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
I know it's down in southern part of Maryland, around Annapolis area. Eagle Rare is either you're going to love this bottle or you're going to hate it. I'm kind of on the latter. It's not that I hate the bottle. It's just, it's a boring pour for me. It's been a while since I've even had it, and I haven't had the store pick.
That was actually pretty good.
Was it? And we're going to use the Norland glass, the rim dripper.
The that Eagle Rare, I wish I could remember who brought it to the barbecue. I can't remember who brought it, but somebody brought it
I
to
believe
our
Colin might
barbecue.
have brought it.
But wow, what a nice color!
I think the thing with me with Eagle Rare, before I even sample it is the fact that the old Eagle Rare used to be 101 proof. I guess they stopped that about 10 years ago, give or take. And the new ones, the current releases, they're what, 90 proof?
I believe, yes.
I believe somewhere in that. Yeah, 45
Yeah.
APV. Yeah, so it's Eagle Rare. It's supposedly around 10 years old. I think the age statements come off. I'm not sure.
That one, I believe.
No, it's
says
still
10
age
year.
stated on the back.
Yeah.
Right down there. So, Eagle Rare, it's not going to blow your socks off if you're a seasoned whiskey drinker, especially if you're a barrel proof guy or girl. So, let's try her out.
Cheers.
Eagle Rare. This is a bottle that I actually recommend a lot of people that are kind of getting into bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
It has no real hard ethanol burn, alcohol burn. It's pretty light in body, very light in color. The legs are very thin. Got a little fruitiness to it,
Yeah.
almost. So it's a sweeter bourbon. It's definitely a sweeter bourbon. So, it's something that a beginner whiskey drinker that's moving up from the Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, Crown Royal stuff, they elevate up to really any one of these bottles. But this is a nice looking bottle. I mean, the presentation of the bottle is gorgeous. I mean, the bald eagle, the strip, the silver and black and white. It's just a really nice looking bottle. For me, it's just not something I'm gonna enjoy on a daily basis. I personally haven't bought a bottle in quite some time.
Yeah, it's a little on the bland side. It's not bad. If you're just getting into whiskey, it's certainly a good beginner bourbon. And you notice Chad's finishing his, but I'm driving after I
He's
leave
driving.
here, so.
I'm here.
And
So,
while
Do you want
he's-
to do the olive?
Sure. The other reindeer. Love olive.
So do I. These are really good. So yeah, if you're tasting bourbon, you're in a whiskey tasting, you definitely want something to clean your palate and even your smell. Some people use coffee beans, which I think works really good.
It does. They're good.
I think I want another olive though. Let's move on to this one. This is something that I recently started drinking. Old Forester Signature. It's 100 proof. It's 25, 26 bucks, give or take. It's a solid everyday budget pour. And it's extremely budget friendly, under $30. Started drinking this about a year ago, give or take, when we were down in Kentucky for the WBSE Roundup. Just somehow it happened in my cart. I'm not the biggest Old Forester fan. Nothing against our brand, by no means. It's just a lot of the stuff, it's just not in my wheelhouse. I love the 1920.
Yeah, that.
I mean, it's
my
absolutely
pick,
one of
this
my
and
favorite.
1920. Yeah.
And this comes in, I can't speak highly enough about it. So let's crack this baby open.
While Chad's pouring there, in case anybody's wondering, of course, you old guys that have been around for a while know, and I'm not taking a sip of this after I cleanse my palate, but you'll notice that when I'm nosing it, I blow into the glass, and that's because I'm trying to blow the ethanol off the top of it so I can actually smell the aromas of the whiskey and not just the ethanol. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
A little barrel char in there.
Oh, does it?
Uh-huh.
Oh, sweet. Sometimes you get lucky. It's like candy. So this is a relatively thin, and when I'm saying thin, you get the real thin legs whiskey.
It's got nice legs on it, though.
It does.
It really does.
And this one, I mean, as soon as you drink it, you get that kind of burst, that burst of the caramels, all the typical flavors, and then on the finish, you start getting the lingering flavors.
The oak presents itself on the finish of this.
Very much, and it's kind of dry on the finish.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not tannic like the.
To go from the water to the, I like the olive over the water, and the reason I like it because it kind of made my taste buds like just pop.
Wake them up.
Wake them up. Of course, we're not drinking a whole hell of a lot, but that's kind of what I go with the olive. And I mean, it doesn't do nothing for nose of the whiskey, but for tasting it, in my opinion, it does something good for it. So, yeah, this is a bottle that I keep on my rotation on a daily. Makes great old fashions. Mixes well with ginger beer, ginger ale,
Ginger cadden.
ginger cadden. We'll put this glass over here. I will. If I start drinking all of it, I'm going to end up being hammered by the time we get finished.
Yeah. You can go a little lighter on the pours.
Yeah. So Old Forester, under $25. It's an absolute solid buy.
Remember, it's the signature and it's the 100 proof.
Right. So Johnny Drum is, once again, to start recapping a little bit, 101 proof, around $26. Eagle Rare, what are these, about $35, give or take?
Yeah.
10 years. And then the Old Forester. Out of the three so far, the Old Forester is absolutely my favorite. It just has a more well-rounded taste for my palate.
Yeah, look for the orange neckband on the Old Forester.
Now,
that'll stand
I'm
out
gonna
for you.
skip glass rotation. I had all these lined up, but I
Cleanse my palate. This time I'm going to go with the Krabby's Ginger Beer. We'll see how this goes. This is actually 4.8% ABV. Pretty sweet, actually. Surprising.
it is sweet. I mean, you get the ginger and all that jazz, but see if it makes my whiskey taste any better. So this is one of my personal favorites.
And mine.
And Bill's as well. So, as a lot of people know us both, and WBSE knows, we're huge fans of this. To me, it's a classic bourbon. It's everything a bourbon should be, in my opinion. And for the right price, under $40, it's great. Over $40, I probably won't buy it myself. I'm a cheap bastard, but I just don't like.
Seriously, I pass on it when I go down to Maryland and see it for $40-$50, knowing that in Pennsylvania I can get it for $35.99 plus tax.
So one thing I recommend a lot of people do,
It's good.
little smaller pours. Everybody likes their own glassware, whatever type they do, and certain whiskeys, in my opinion, drink better out of certain glasses. I, for one, and I've done this in demonstration with people at my house and different places, drinking now like a Glencairn, a New Orleans glass, a Canadian Glen, or a rocks glass. I always feel that I get a better drinking pleasure out of the rocks glass with this bottle. You don't get a lot on the nose, but the flavor, it just, with the added air, I think it just does something to the flavor.
I smell Buffalo Trace on the nose.
Yeah.
And in the past week, Chad and I have both posted pictures of our trip to Buffalo Trace 4 years ago. It was our first foray to Kentucky, and it was just a phenomenal trip with phenomenal memories. And if you haven't been to the distillery, walking into the rick houses and
Just driving up to the place.
is gorgeous, but walking into the rick house, that smell of the angel's share that just hits you is just unbelievable. You'll never forget it.
The smell I'm getting off this, I get like a lot of honey, a lot of your caramel, a lot of oak, and I get this crazy honey, and then I already said honey once, but a little bit of like apple crisp. It's something I've always picked up in this, and maybe like a Granny Smith. I mean, it's very faint.
You get a little corn in it too.
You get the corn.
Cheers, WBSE.
I hear you like pretzels, Bill.
I love E.H. Taylor.
I love E.H. Taylor a lot more than pretzels. But so let's go with the pretzel.
We didn't talk about the flavor profile on that.
The what?
The flavor profile in the E.H. Taylor.
What about it?
We didn't talk about it.
A lot of people know it. We kind of talked about it. But we're just talking budget pours. You know, all these bottles are friendly to the pocket. I mean, you go out to a store and, of course, you'll see some of these bottles jacked up. Not really much here on this shelf or table, but you'll see like an Elmer T. Lee, which is the next tier up from these. They'll be priced at $100, $200, $300 a bottle when it's a $40, $50, $40 bottle max, really. But you can see them selling it for $50. You see some of the single barrels, you know, people are charging $100.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
You know,
not worth it. Not
So
worth
when you
it.
get up to the next level from the budget pour to the mid-level pour, the, you know, 40 to 60, 70, $80 range, you get into a wide range of whiskey at that point. I mean, you're talking barrel proof stuff, you're talking allocated stuff, you're just talking so many different levels. I mean, we ain't even talking scotch here. My God, my scotch cabinet over here is getting kind of crazy, Bill. I might be a scotch guy after all.
A scotch guy.
A scotch guy, yeah.
I have to say, out of all these, and we haven't even hit the last three yet, but
Oh.
that E.H. Taylor is a standout. If you can get it at a reasonable price, it's a phenomenal bottle, and it is allocated as well.
I'm going to give it a run for its money with this next pour.
Okay.
And this next pour is another fairly new one to me. It's an old label, Early Times Bottle and Bond. It just got re-released this past year. If I'm not mistaken, it's Brown Foreman, and I do believe it's coming from Woodford Reserve. I'm not 100% sure where it's sourced out of. I could be wrong, so please don't quote me on that. But this 100 proof, I mean, it's a gorgeous label. I mean, it's kind of really old school. It has some really rich color in this one. It's not age stated, but you know it's at least 4 years old.
Right.
Uh,
And I had a bottle of it and killed it pretty quickly.
I've been known to go through a bottle or two of this often. So, actually, I'm going to put these in the Canadian Glencairns because it's a little bit bolder of a flavor, and I like having the extra air volume. But this is another one that I keep readily available in the house. It's a extremely good whiskey. It's limited where it's sold. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 6, 7 different states right now.
Well, Early Times is a very old brand.
Yeah.
I remember Early Times.
It was out in the
Don't-
early
don't-
times.
Don't tell me I'm an old man, but I'm older than you. It was around when I was a kid.
Yeah. So was Jesus Christ. Cheers, my
Keep
friend.
it G. Cheers.
Cheers, WBSE. So, Early Times to me, I tried it once again last year down in Kentucky at Merle's Whiskey Kitchen, I think. Our good late friend Robert Johnson and his wonderful wife Diane picked us up a pour of it. You know, treated us to a pour, and ever since then I've just been really impressed with it.
It has a lot of character to it.
I've kind of been like on the fence on some things with it about it because I can't figure it out, but it does have some really good characters.
Yeah, it's very complex.
Very
for
oaky for
a budget pour. What did you say the price was on that?
the price on that for a liter bottle, a 1 liter. All these are 750s except for that boy. A liter bottle, it's about 25, maybe $26. But
Can't
once
beat
again,
price.
it's sold in, I think, Oregon, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, maybe, and 1 or 2 other states. And of course, they'll be probably putting it national eventually, but right now it's just in these couple states. Now that has a real oily mouthfeel to me.
Yeah, it does.
You're just watching it come down the line. on the side of the glass, the line's just spider webbing. I mean,
That's probably oakier than anything we've tasted
It is.
to this point.
I mean, color-wise, it's fairly dark in the bottle and even in the glass, but I can't say it's more than 7 years old. And I think, you know, the Taylor, they're rumored to be mainly 7 to 8 years old, small batches. I'm not certain on the Johnny Drums. Eagle Rare, we know it's 10-year, but it's Eagle Rare. So anyway, early times bottle and bond. I can't speak highly enough about it. It's become one of my favorite whiskeys. I think it's better than Old Weller Antique, and that's.
No, I don't know if I would put it there.
I threw it out there.
Yeah, you threw it out there, but I don't know. That's still one of my favorites, but I'm not paying
it's
50,
one of my-
60
well,
bucks a bottle anymore.
That's a whole nother animal.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do a video on Old Weller alone. The ridiculousness of it.
All right, Pickles this time.
Pickles. Now, this is personally my favorite palate cleanser. These are fresh garden farm pickles right up the road from me. They're a little spicy dill.
You picked them off the road.
Yeah, on the side of the road. To me, the vinegar, the salt, it just opens up your taste buds.
They're good pickles.
They're
Give
damn
you
good
that.
pickles.
They crunch.
It's very good. And typically when I'm having different whiskeys and I'm kind of like really trying to differentiate certain things and learn a new whiskey, when I eat the pickle, after I eat the pickle, I'll wash it down with a little sip of water.
Okay, I'll follow your lead.
And then I move on to my next pour, because that's what I do. And we're going to go to another Buffalo Trace namesake product.
And again, this one also, believe it or not, is highly allocated. I don't know why, because it's one of their lower ends.
It's a great bourbon for somebody who's moving up the whiskey ladder. It's not going to knock your socks off. It's lower proof,
But that's their flagship.
and it's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a nice looking bottle. I mean, I love the shape of the bottle, the coloration, color of the bottles, labels are great. This runs $24 to $28.
I paid 28 bucks for that bottle.
Okay, $28, and that's probably on the little higher end unless you get to one of those stores, and we all know those stores. But Buffalo Trace, to me, to be candid and frank, it's one of those bottles, kind of like Eagle Rare. It's something I don't drink very often. To me, the whiskey falls a little flat. It's nothing negative against the whiskey. It's just my palate. I like a higher proof whiskey. This being sub 100 proof, probably on the younger age, maybe 4 years, probably aged high up in the rick house where the temperature fluctuates pretty heavy.
I don't mind the proof so much with this, and it's what I would call fair whiskey. It's just very light on the palate.
Right.
There's not a lot of complexity to it. And that's one thing I look for in a bourbon is the complexity. In other words, the different flavors that you get from the front of the palate to the back of the palate. And this just is pretty much there and gone.
Yeah. So there you have it with that. And on that note, I'm going to slide this one over here. And
Bill and Chad doing a tasting of Colonel E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof. And here comes Chad right now.
what's going on, WBSE? Just picked this up. It's the
I
newest.
don't have any
release.
hair to hold that up there, Chad.
It clocks in at 129.3.
got some heat to it.
Cool, baby. So, as a lot of people know, I'm a huge E.H. Taylor barrel proof fan. Bill, I think he has a pretty big affection for it as
Oh
well.
yeah, I love it. Anything E.H. Taylor. Oh, I can smell that without even putting my nose in the glass. Oh yeah.
So, nothing like the green lettering on one of these yellow tubes. I saw it today, and when I was able to pick it up, one of the guys from the liquor store I deal with on a regular basis, he was like, "Hey Chad, would you like this?" I was like, "Are you kidding me? Of course." Ah, my God.
Oh,
I'll
man.
tell you what, that nose is very light for being almost 130 proof. You don't get hardly any ethanol burn.
Smells like a rick house. Man, I smell apricots.
A little cherry, maybe a black cherry.
Yeah.
You know, your oaks.
Vanilla. Maybe even some almond in there. What the hell? You didn't toast me, dude.
I couldn't wait. Sorry, Bill. Cheers, buddy. Ooh. That is a fine barrel proof whiskey. A lot of these come in 7 to 11 years old.
Okay. I'm going to be on, not a cough because of the proof of it. But I'll be honest with you. Most barrel proofs, I do drop an ice cube in. This doesn't need it. This is phenomenal. I haven't had a barrel proof E.H. Taylor in quite some time.
And
This
those legs
is
just
amazing.
hang. Look
Yeah.
at that. It's a beautiful E.H. Taylor.
Everybody likes nice legs.
I love some nice legs. I think a band called ZZ Top has a song called Legs of some sort. I forget the name of it. But she sure knows how to use them. God damn, look at them. So there's been, what is this, the 8th release? Since 2011 they've been releasing the barrel proof. And I think the highest it's went up to was 135.4 proof. Last year was 128 point maybe 5, I forget what it was. You had 129 proof back in 2013 or 14, which was a solid, it was probably one of the hotter ones that I had. The 134.5 or 135.4 was probably one of my favorites. I don't like rating one of these right out of the bottle, but I can tell this is going to be
Well, this is actually
phenomenal.
I'm getting in the palate. I'm getting cherry,
Leather.
and almonds, and leather, some tobacco.
That's fantastic. I mean, it just lasts. It's midway through your palate and just kind of slowly goes. Once again, E.H. Taylor's knocked it out of the park. Buffalo Trace did a great job picking this barrel. 75, 80 bucks is average. I think the current releases don't go for too much on the secondary market. The older ones go for stupid money, and I do not recommend you buy anything off the secondary because, well, it's just ridiculous. Especially the one of the older special releases, Tornado, is going for like $2,500 now. Crazy.
If
Insane.
you have money to piss away, that's different. But
Definitely not worth that kind of money. But to be quite honest, this is pretty damn remarkable.
Pretty damn remarkable. Yes, sir.
We did a tasting just a little while ago of budget pours, and this clearly is a little bit above budget pours.
A little. You think?
Just a little, almost double. And this is a fantastic whiskey. I could sit here and really get into a glass for a long time. Once again, I love the E.H. Taylor brand. I love everything about it. I love the history. The bottle art's great, and the history's phenomenal. I mean, a lot of you already know the history of Edmund Taylor, so I'm not going to bore you with all that. But to me, it's classic. This is what a bourbon's supposed to taste like. And when I'm trying new things, I kind of put this one in the forefront when I'm sipping a new bottle, and
Gauge everything by that.
I kind of put everything by this because this is bourbon. This is a bourbon, and this is an American whiskey.
Highly recommend
It's a classic. It definitely gets my seal of approval, 100%.
And happiness is a tight seal. Cheers, my
Cheers,
friend. Cheers, WBSE.
Cheers, WBSE. The last one we're going to try, it's not a bourbon. It's a very budget-friendly rye. Old Forester rye. It's 100 proof.
This is for the rye fans out there, and I'm not a big rye fan, but I find that this one is very enjoyable. Makes a great old fashioned too.
This bottle cost, I believe, under $25.
Yes.
And
It's 100 proof.
Kentucky distilleries I believe, are trying to add a new term to whiskey: Kentucky rye, not Pennsylvania rye, not Maryland rye. And I do believe
The ryes have it.
the ryes have it, but it's a higher corn.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak out of school.
But you're right. It does have a
High corn content?
mash bill. Yes,
So
higher than normal.
I'm not a big rye fan. So this is only my second go with this bottle. And that drink's damn near like a bourbon.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, if you want an easy intro to rye whiskey, I think that's really good.
It is, because it's very close to a high rye bourbon. So if you're a bourbon drinker and kind of iffy on ryes, try this one out first, and you won't be disappointed. Old Forester does a great job with
Yes,
it.
they do. So, in closing, that was a foul. In closing, there's a lot of really good whiskey out there, WBSE. You could buy the extremely expensive stuff, or you could be down on the lower shelf stuff, and you could drink good whiskey. You don't have to follow the hype in a lot of bottles. I don't think there's much hype wrapped up into any one of these bottles here. We don't have any Old Weller Antique. We don't have any Weller 12-year-old. We don't have any this or that. I think in the bourbon world, everybody sees these names and thinks, I have to have that bottle. And there's great stuff under $40 out there. You don't have to go in the secondary market to buy bottles. You could go to your local liquor store and usually pick up any variety of these, or multiples of them. And they're usually on the shelf on a daily basis.
Readily available to you.
Some of them are a little bit harder to find. Some people say Eagle Rare is hard to find. We see it fairly often here in Pennsylvania, even in Maryland in my travels. So as far as the palate cleansers, what did you think was the best?
Well, ginger works good to cleanse the palate. The sweetness in this sort of throws me off a little bit. I'd rather have the saltiness.
I'm tossed up between the Krabby's beer, ginger beer, and the Pickles. I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards the ginger beer because it has, if you just took a sip, you notice it has a cleaner finish. Like, it kind of dissipates fairly quickly.
It does.
And I noticed when I tried the ginger beer going from this bottle to that bottle, I didn't have any aftertaste of olives or pickles or dryness of the pretzel and the emptiness of water. But anyway, so WBSE, it's a lot of stuff going on. We got this was fun, Bill.
It was fun.
So
I'm going to throw a plug out there. If you're not subscribed to our newsletter, you need to go to our webpage or I'll post something up and how you can text to join the newsletter. We got a lot of people on the newsletter. Comes out every Wednesday. A lot of information on the newsletter. New whiskeys, new labels, new TTB approvals. You're just missing a lot if you're not subscribing. It's free. Doesn't cost you a damn thing, whatever. Join our newsletter. You get a lot of information. On that note, I'm ready to say cheers, WBSE. Cheers, Chad.
Cheers, Bill.
Enjoy your evening.
Cheers.